always be speaking in riddles. So, the fact that he's getting first team reps is
Yeah.
less telling to me than than him just coming out and saying like, hey, we just want to get him some reps, but we plan to start dude. Like, I don't necessarily know if they're going to start him. I feel like he always just be trying to throw little extra pieces of confusion out there in the media for the other team to try to, to give them an extra little work. So now they got a plan for both Russ and him because they don't know if which one is going to play, which may take an extra day off of their
Well,
or take some
that
time off
always
of their
gives them.
practice.
Yeah, that always gives them some sort of an advantage to make you train for other things that you probably don't got. You probably ain't gonna face and waste time.
Yeah.
But so that's a good strategy. But at the same time, I don't think he really be talking in code for real. Like he say what he say, and he do
My man,
exactly what
that's
he
all he
said.
do is talking code though. Like, because even with his Tomlinisms, that's him talking in code. Like you know what I mean? Like you just always have to decipher through what he's saying. Like to because I'll listen to like sports talk radio and some while I'm driving in the car or something like that because I really don't like listening to the music that's on the radio. And like some of the stuff that he be saying, it's like, why couldn't he just give a straight answer? Like I feel like he very very rarely gives a straight answer. You know what I mean? But that's him. And I'll just be surprised at whoever start this week. And I just want to win. You know, I think it'll be an interesting game this week with your boy going over there. I was hoping we was going to get him in a trade, but he's probably too expensive for us anyway, and a little
Who?
long in the tooth. Uh, Devontae.
Devontae Adams. There was another
Yeah,
receiver on the market, right?
I think there might have been one or two from a couple teams um, that are out there and available, I guess, for trade on teams that aren't really doing anything this year, but they're going to be garnering a big contract soon. So they might be willing to part with them, for some trade capital. But um, you know, we strike out. We're 0 for 2 with the big names. But I'm kind of cool on that because I really don't want to spend no big money on no wide receiver like that. You know,
You always talking like it's your money.
I know because I feel like it's my money. You know what I mean? I feel like it's my money. I don't know how much money I want to spend on the offense on a wide receiver because I know Mike Tomlin is a defensive minded coach. So if we're going to spend money, I would rather that be on a valuable quarterback rather than a wide receiver who's going to come in acting like a diva anyway. We got one of those and he only making rookie money. So I don't need another Antonio Brown making big money coming in here with a big head that's just gonna, mess up the system. And they're not gonna get that many passes anyway in Arthur Smith's, Arthur Smith's system, who he incorporates a lot more of the tight ends, and you know what I mean, and the running back. So I mean, whatever. When they eat, they eat.
We do need one more receiver.
We need one more. We need one more. And I don't know, maybe that the little young dude Wilson, maybe he'll come in, be a slot, and he'll provide some.
Something.
He'll
I
provide
mean,
something.
yeah, finding Austin, Calvin
Yeah.
Austin. That I like how they did that. You know, what I'm saying a couple games. I didn't even watch. I didn't watch this game because I
I
didn't
haven't
like.
seen the last three because I've been out of the country. I haven't seen the last three.
You ain't seen the
It's
last
been
three games,
the last three. I've been out of the country for every single game. It's been driving me nuts. So I've
mm.
been able to watch little highlights here and there.
but not to get the full
I've
experience of
never
the
got
game.
I've never got the whole game. They wouldn't play it anywhere we were at. They wouldn't play it. So and then with the Steelers game, I think the last one, I think I was in Rome. So I think it's a 6 hour difference, and then it was raining, so it got delayed. So I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, walking
Trying to
around
watch the game.
trying to find the game anywhere. I couldn't
Well,
find
we
it
was able to
nowhere.
find the game in Thailand.
I could, yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
could. Oh no, because we put it online. So I didn't have a streaming package where I was at. So I only had like viewing. So all I could do was like view emails, text messages, stuff like that. But I couldn't do any streaming. So that's what messed it up. Because if
gotcha.
I was able to stream, I could have just pulled up the website that reached game.
There he is,
What's happening?
man. Just chilling, dog. You might have some pushback for him, so that's why I was like, yeah, just hop back on.
Back, man. Your opinion's your
Oh,
opinion.
I mean, yeah, but you know, the
I don't know.
dialogue.
He might come back different off that Europe.
You think? Yeah,
Same
Euro
old
I
trip.
don't know. I
Same
don't
old
know. Damn these kids. Like,
Did you take the kids with you? Yeah,
No, no. We took them down when we went to Mexico, but we didn't take them to Europe.
you didn't take them for this trip.
Nah,
Oh,
this was
okay,
the anniversary trip for me and the wife. So
got you,
so yeah, this was just us.
got you. Hey man, well let's get into the first question. I didn't even roll the. You want me to cue the music for you?
Nah,
Like
cue the music. Cue the music.
cue the music. All right. Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
It's gonna be. I'm telling you. Another prototype dad, man. Tuesday night. This is 6:54 today, so we're a little off cue, but you know what I mean. We're gonna have a good time anyway. Hey, how the bomb did when I dropped the bomb? Do it sound normal?
It's not. I haven't heard the bomb, and I was waiting for the bomb, like I said, and nothing came. It was
Yeah,
just.
it's been a couple weeks since I heard the bomb.
Really? So I just be dropping bombs and y'all don't even hear it. Y'all don't hear the
Yeah.
claps or nothing.
Yeah, no, it's
Was
just
that
like.
applause? Right.
Oh, you didn't hear that either?
Mm-mm.
Was that applause?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on then. Maybe I changed some settings, man. I had some kids over here. They was probably like tuning stuff. I don't know. Still nothing? Damn. That's unfortunate. Maybe Stranger will help me out. I don't know. But yeah, man. Man, let's get on to it, man. Ain't no reason to hide it. Is it okay not to like your kid?
Yeah, I think it's certainly okay not to like your kid, man. Hell, and sometimes it's okay not to like your spouse. Um, you know, it's for me. I think it's I don't think it's okay not to love them. You know what I mean? Like, and because and it's not like a total dislike, but there's for me personally, there's not a total dislike, but in moments, there's times where I'm like, man, I can't stand you. Like, where I'm just like, I be wanting to just choke you out sometime. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's okay not to like your kids, man. I mean,
How
that
does
just
not
is what it
liking
is.
and
I think
loving your
that's a part
kid
of it.
adjust? Right? Like, do the love make you come back to them? Is that where you add that in? Because not liking somebody is like, I don't like this person, right?
Well,
So
love
what
is the
gets you?
duty. You know what I mean? That's the duty. It's my duty to make sure that you are taken care of, that you have what you need in this world, that you're prepared when you leave this house to be able to be a uh, a positive citizen. And you're able to live outside of my doors without me. Like that's the love part. The love is the work that I put in to ensure that you have what you need to survive without me. Now the liking part, what was that? What was that? Dang man, what was that? That movie. Oh man, I can't even remember what it was anymore. Dang, that movie with I think Denzel did a remake of it. Fences, where he was like, how come you don't like me, Dad? He's like, whoever said I had to like you, I ain't got to like you. I gave you life. You know what I mean? So, I have an obligation you know what I mean, to make sure that you are that you exhibit the skills and the know-how to make it out in the world outside of my household. Um, I ain't gotta like you. You know what I mean? And sometimes these dang kids are dang right unlikable. You know, they think they know everything. They don't want to listen. They want to rebel against you, even though your years of life and experience shows that XYZ could possibly happen, but they'll still say, well, I'm not you. It ain't all right. Well, go ahead. If you smoke crack, then you're a crackhead. And it's simple as that. You know what I mean? Like that's just is what it is. You're gonna do this and XYZ can happen. So, that's just I think, yeah, like I said, love is just the responsibility is part of it. And the like, you can or cannot. You know what I mean? That's just however you build that relationship. But yeah, I think it's okay not to like them, at least at times.
What's your perspective on that, Mo?
Look, I love the caveat at the end, the at times, because I mean it was very infinite. Last week it was like, do you like them or not? And I was like yeah, you gotta kind of like them. But one of the things that I guess is kind of converse to what I was, my thoughts on it was, I could not like your actions, but still, like you. You know what I mean? Like I brought you life. You're half of me. So if I don't like you, does that mean I don't like parts of me? That's why I have very hard time saying I don't like my kid. Like I love me some me, so I can't really say, man, I don't like my kid. But no, it's totally okay to not like their actions. That's for sure. And that's part of it. The whole, we talked about the whole evolution of parenthood, stuff like that. When it comes to, previous generations, they were saying stuff like, man, it ain't my job to like you. You ate tonight, didn't you? You know what I mean? So we were talking about the evolution of parenting, and like that's definitely not how I parent, man. And I'm sure we kind of get into it a little bit, but man, I want them to be, I want to be liked by them to a certain extent and vice versa. Because we have that type of a relationship where it's not just a dictatorship. But we'll talk about it a little bit more later.
I mean, I sound crazy. I sound crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you just did. like you just reversed puberty or something.
Yeah, no. Man, I would love to have that kind of relationship where I like all my kids, but I think we talked about it last week. I think you said something like your kid is a reflection of what you don't like about yourself or something like that.
So that was a real quote. I can't remember. Somebody old told me that. They said your kid is all your insecurities
something
for the
like
world
that.
to see. And I was like, Jesus Christ, when I heard that. But it made me look at things much different at that time. And then sometimes, even if it wasn't mine, I saw that it was their other parents. And I was like,
but
wow.
Even when it could be things you worked out of you, though. You know what I'm saying? So you're mature enough to understand, like, this is not how you do things. Like, if you had a hot temper, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I know I had a temper growing up, but I got to a certain age where I was just like, oh, you can't be out here with us. Like, you tripping. Like, you gonna miss out on so much with this temper, not listening. Like, there's too much to miss out on just because you feel slighted or you feel some type of way or you want to have an attitude or whatever, man. You're gonna miss out on too many opportunities. People used to say that all the time, but I used to just not listen. I'm like, man, y'all corny. Like, you know what I mean?
Man, look, if from that perspective, man, I knock on wood that that was kind of a generational curse that I had that it doesn't look like I've passed on, man. So, and I think a lot of that is about environment, to be honest. It's nature and nurture. So obviously, I'm sure it's in there, because I can run hot at times, but just based on the environment and the culture that I've created, hopefully, that won't be an issue for her.
Next question. Do you know your child? Do you know your child or your children, for that matter?
Man, that's a good question. No, I think I know parts of them, the parts that they want to share. I think there are parts that they don't share because their fear of consequences and things like that. Like we talked about in other episodes where we very definitively made decisions for our daughter and said, hey, You can't do this until you're 16. You can't do this until this. You don't do this here. You don't do that there. And, you know, kids make their own decisions. They're like, I just won't tell you. No problem. We'll just, you know what I mean? They'll just do it. So, you know, do I know everything about my kid? No. Certainly, man. I know who they are at the core. But every single action that they do, every single decision, you know, everything that makes them who they are, no, I don't know. And I think that's a part of, and I don't know if you know that about anybody, but I think that's a part of, you know, the relationship building. You have to continue to have those conversations and continue to want to know. Because I think sometimes you get to a space where you think you know, and then you stop asking questions. And then you found out real quick how much you just don't know. Whether that's like, you know, I think Mo was saying he, you know, did a surprise visit through the phone and was like, "Oh, where did you learn this from?" But yeah, I have, you know, I didn't do it because, you know, I didn't want to be surprised in the wrong way. So I had my wife do it, and we found out some stuff, and we was like, "Who is this person?" You know what I mean? But that's where it be at.
I think that's what you mentioned there was is the power of having both parents, man, and having that kind of dynamic to smooth that over. When you're doing it by yourself, or you don't, you know what I'm saying, trying to have that transition or that conversation, man, it's rough. It's a rough way to kind of like get information and do it the right way. You got something else?
And I think the thing that is good about our parenting is that, man, we understand and we're aware enough to know what we don't know. Like, it's funny because I'm going from, you know, my parenting to how I was parented. I remember, man, it was like a don't ask, don't tell policy, man. My mom thought I was a virgin. I probably could have had kids on the way. Like, that's what was so funny. Like, where I try to actually, like, I try to foster an environment where there's a certain level of transparency to where you can talk to me about anything, but you have to be respectful in how you say it. So I try to create that environment where I didn't have that leeway. Like, I just, you know, I had to just kind of, you know, fake that I was perfect, if you will. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was truly the expectation or if it was just my perception, but that was how I felt. And I didn't want my daughter to have to go through that. And knowing me, I knew how I was in the house. I was hell out on them streets. So, like, it's just part of the evolution of growing up and maturing. And you're gonna, you know, there's gonna be some trial and error, and there's gonna be some stuff that they do that your parent or your guardian doesn't approve of, and that's okay as long as you're not, you know, what I call doing permanent things with temporary people, or doing things that's gonna ruin your future. It's just part of the evolution of it.
Right on. Right on.
You know, jab
should you accept your child for who they are?
No, nah. But you know what? Who are they? And that's I think that's the bigger question, man. Like, do I expect my child to know who they are before they're an adult? Hell, there are adults still trying to figure out who they are. So I don't know. Are we asking to accept their behavior?
You should know what you aren't. They should know what they aren't, though.
Yeah. Are we asking to
you're
accept
not a
their behavior, or right? Are we asking to accept actions? Are we asking to, like, what are we asking to accept? You know what I mean? Because people make decisions in life and they journey through different things trying to find themselves. You know what I mean? So no, I don't accept some of those negative actions you do in your exploration. You know what I mean? But do I accept that you are, you know, my child? Do I accept that you're a human being? Do I accept that you still need me to survive? Do I accept that, you know, you're still on my insurance? Yeah, I accept all of those things. But do I accept you going out smutting off all in the streets? No, I don't accept that. Do I accept you staying out all night, you know, doing drugs and, you know, smoking crack? You know, I know a crackhead when I see one. No, I don't accept that. You know what I mean? So certain behaviors, no, I don't accept. But you know, in the exploration process and you trying to figure out who you are, you know, you got to go through that. That's your own life journey. So you got to go through that. I don't have to accept it. You know, I just try to guide you. I try to give you information so you can make informed decisions, and then gotta let go and let God and let you just make your mistakes and then try to coach you through it. But accept who you are. You know, figure out who you are first.
I would say it's personality based, right? Here's an example of me not accepting my kid for who he is, right? I called him the other day. I was like, "Hey, what you doing?" He's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Hey, where the hoes at?" Now I know he doesn't involve himself like that. He's not us growing up, like, you know what I'm saying, like not even remotely close. But I'm still like trying to talk to him like he is one of us. No, he's not. He was at the crib playing
But
video
that's not
games.
a bad thing.
But he was
Thank
just
God.
like, he was just like, he chuckled at it like, all right, here you go with that. It's like I'm forcing myself on him, like, oh, why you asking these crazy questions? Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, hey, where the hoes at? You got some hoes over there? No, there's nobody here, Dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of response I get. But he's just not into that. You know what I mean? But that's me not accepting who he is because he don't want to talk
So look, that went totally left. So I mean, accepting who they are is not a requirement, right? But what I will say is this, man, as somebody who's worked in HR for a long time, man, I think it's a misnomer that people, oh, bring your authentic self. You really can't do that. Like we talked about it before when we were talking about code switching and stuff like that. Like you can't always, your authentic self doesn't always fit in that environment, right? So you have to have pieces and parts of you in order to fit that environment. So why would your kid be any different? So when it comes to accepting everything, no. But I would hope that my influence and the environment that I created, that I raised her in, will be the North Star to where you won't veer too far off from, kind of, what our standard is for the name on the back of your jersey. So that's my hope for her. But do I have to accept it? Absolutely not. I mean, but on the other extreme, I've seen it to where, other culture, how they parent it, like they like, you're going to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. Like, I'm not doing all that. I'm actually fostering whatever it is. Like I'm feeding into her so she has all the opportunities and what she can do, what she wants to do within reason. You know what I mean? Like I'm not about to pay $50,000 a year for a basket weaving degree. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But what I will do is I'll pour into stuff that I support and the stuff that I do think is okay. And the stuff that I do accept, I will pour into that, and I feel it's productive. I think that's important to be able to have that balance.
Let's say the kid grows up and like, I want to be a tattoo artist. Are you still doing pouring into blah 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 XYZ?
So I'm not opposed to it, but me being me, man, I'm gonna be like, hey, are you gonna be able to feed yourself with that? You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say you're an art major. Let's say that's a hobby. Like, are we gonna put all our eggs in the tattooing basket? Okay. Can you like? I always tell people, I'm not mad at you for wanting it, but can you live with the consequences if you get it? And I will be asking those questions because I'm gonna like.
I mean, they don't. You don't know what you don't know, right? They don't know if they can live off of that. It's an idea. They see other tattoo artists doing it. Like they're like, well, there's other tattoo artists. I think they're living okay. I don't know.
So
one of those things. It's just like,
yeah,
I want to be a rapper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or not.
Right.
I mean, I think a tattoo artist is more realistic than being a rapper, maybe. But even with that, like,
I've been through that. Look, and I've been through that too, right? So here's the thing. And I'm a very risk averse person because of how I grew up. So I would imagine that my daughter and other people probably are. They have more of a safety net, so maybe they're more willing to take those type of risks. But when in that situation, I remember my advice was, listen, you can be average. You can always go back to being average. Chase your dreams now while you're young and before you have all these responsibilities. So that was my advice then. I would imagine I would do it. I would echo those same sentiments and say, yeah, man, chase your dreams now. However, I would do something to make sure you can at least sustain yourself if this doesn't pan out. Or even if it's something that's, even if it's something that's similar to where like you could, and this is just the way I think, but let's say you get into art and you want to be a tattoo artist and stuff like that. There's actually jobs and there's careers to where you can actually do sketches and you can do drawings in like the health field, like before surgeries and stuff like that. So I would always try to find a way to be productive while still fulfilling whatever it is that your passion is, to where I don't have to take care of you for the rest of your life, because I don't want to do that.
You're gonna be like, no, you're gonna be an architect. You want to draw?
Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Look, I'm gonna be one of
draw these schematics.
Yeah, I'm gonna be an Indian parent. You better architect a tattoo. You better make a building into a
integrated
to a
the art
piece.
field into the medical field. You crazy?
I'm telling you, look, hey man, listen, I got dreams and hopes of my own that I can't be taking care of you for the rest of my life.
Oh man, yeah. What you got, Lee? Yeah, you want to elaborate, or you went first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to elaborate on it. We can go to the next one.
All right, cool. Do you need to earn your child's respect?
No, absolutely not. I think my child needs to earn my respect. Um, now, with that, as they get older, you know what I mean, and 16, 17, 18, excuse me, range, you know what I mean. At this point in time, they're starting to grow into their own. They're starting to smell themselves. They're starting to feel more like an adult. Feel. I think at this time they're able to discern for themselves certain things, and at this time it's my job to probably me to try to get them to keep the respect level there, because I think that's when you get a lot of that back and forth. You get a lot of that, you don't know what you're talking about. You get a lot of that, you know what I mean, that contentious behavior and relationship between the teen and the parent. I think at that space, that you have to, be able to show you can't get in these back and forth matches and all this stuff with them. You have to maintain your you have to maintain your square and be stern about it in order to, keep that respect. Like I said, I don't feel like I don't feel like I have to earn it, but I feel like, I got to maintain it. I got to maintain that respect level in there, and you don't maintain the respect level by going back and forth and then dropping yourself to that child's level. I'll just let you know, like, this is what it's going to be in this household. And if you think you're grown, you can figure out on your own how grown you are outside of this household.
I think at some point, it depends on if you drop the ball. Like maintaining the respect level, I think is key there, right? For some parents, they might have dropped the ball where maybe they had was alcoholics, or did something wild to whatever, was in prison for X amount of years, and now they come back. I mean, you can't just come back and be like, hey, I'm your daddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you can come back like that. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know me, I'm not just gonna be like, you just got out of jail, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think that's a different thing, though.
But doesn't have to be a certain level of respect, though.
Maybe when you were a child, but if you haven't seen them for 10 years because they've been in jail, I think that level of respect kind of dissipates and turns to apathy. You know what I mean? You're like, this person ain't never really been here. I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. So you might have to,
And the reason I asked that, because I remember growing up, man, I remember like there used to be like, let's say I did something, right? And like that whole, like I said, man, I was one way at home and then another way outside the home. And I remember it used to be something that I had a young mom, and I remember my mom used to say stuff like, I get in trouble or whatever. And my mom be like, respect is both ways. You get respect got to be earned. No, it don't. Like, based on the position and the title that person held, no, they should have that respect, or at least a baseline of respect. And that's one of the things that I try to instill in my daughter, man. The folks that are tasked with having a certain title and the role of being superior to you at that moment in time, there's a certain level of respect and baseline of decency that you have to that you have to give to that person. So like it blows my mind when people like are just like, well, you did this, so it's whatever. Like, no, that ain't what that means. Like, you still like, you're like, okay, let's say your pops went to jail, Your father went to jail. You don't know the situations, like especially when you're a kid. If it happened, like you don't know. He could have went trying to get you milk. Like he had, you were starving, you was crying. He went and stole some medicine to try to make sure that you had what you needed. Went to jail, and he come out and you like, you a jailbird. Like the sacrifice that I made. Like, are you serious? So I think just based on a certain level of there needs to be a baseline of respect there for your parents and for just the people that are they created you. Trust me, I'm the poster child for trying to like maintain that, because I've had situations where I'm like, whew, if this was anybody else, you know what I mean? Like, especially y'all, man, y'all very much Bible reading folks, man. Like you gotta honor your parents, but I'm like, there's levels to it. Like I'm like, I ain't gonna just honor everything, but there's a certain level of respect that I will provide because one, they gave you life, and two, they're a good reason for why you are the way you are. So having a certain level of baseline of respect is important. I don't ever think like it should just be depleted down to zero. If that's the case, you should just not deal with them because that's horrible. That I remember my mom talks about it a lot. She was like, nothing good will ever come to you if you disregard your parents. So that's something that always stuck with me.
You ever watched the show Bel Air?
I was thinking, yep, that was the example that I gave. That was exactly where that came from.
You know what I'm saying? Like they elongated that whole one episode that they had. They elongated the heck out of that like interaction between father and son. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you in here? And respect is earned, and that's kind of what I was thinking about too. But I could see myself even doing that as a kid, right? I didn't respect my biological father. I didn't respect neither one of them. Essentially, like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, him not being around, I don't know you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember saying some wild stuff to him before. Was I wrong? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
probably. Like I said, I mean, if you're gonna get to the point of disrespect, it's better to just leave it unsaid. Yeah, just leave it unsaid.
But like, you know the interesting part about that, it's like because you want the bond, but you want to get it out too. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to get them emotions out, them feelings out, but you want to come to a point where you like can work it out, but you're willing to go. You want to do it rough, I guess you can say.
Because I think it's okay to get it out, but let's get it out in a respectful way. You know what I mean? Like that's all.
I don't even think a respectful way, like, and I understand what the Bible says, but you can't always go with you can't always go with JC on this one because you are human and you are human, and sometimes you got to be able to, especially as a kid, you don't really know how to articulate these things. You just have all these feelings and they're bottled up. And although he is doing it in a way that may be disrespectful, you would hope that the parent would have enough emotional intelligence to be able to understand that this is just his raw emotions and to be able to just maybe grab him up and try to give him a hug or embrace him or something and just, work through that. And be able to understand that this is just a defense mechanism. This is a shield that he's putting up because he may be afraid that we do get close and bond, and now I disappear and I hurt him again. So, you kind of got to be able to get that out. How you get it out in order to get to the next level. I think I can't remember who said it, but they said there is no progress without adversity. So sometimes you have to just let it out how you let it out and then build on it. Because if you just try to sugarcoat how you feel, then now you're still holding on to those feelings and that resentment. They think everything is cool when you never get to a space of resolve. You might just get to a space where you're just like, I'm done with it. You know what I mean? But they can't read your mind. So, you just have to be able to communicate.
So as y'all were talking, I was thinking about it, and, we were talking about as a kid or whatever. What if it was as an adult? Let's say you're an adult, right? And the thing that comes to mind is, and Leifer talked about this, and we're talking about therapy and we're talking about trauma. Sometimes you never grow and mature past that point of that trauma. So how it might come out might be childlike. So you know what I mean? And that's a big ask to ask somebody who may not be equipped to understand and have that type of emotional intelligence. It's like, oh, he's coming at me sideways and crazy. Oh, this is from trauma from when he was a kid and he developed abandonment issue. Like, that's a lot to be asking somebody who might not be equipped. So I get it. Like, but I mean, I just think that I think somebody has to have a cooler head, or there has to be enough love to be like, okay, now that we've gone through this, it's not a never see you again. Because if that's an option, it's easy to be like, well, get out of here then, beat it. You know what I mean? So as long as there's enough love to know that, hey, we're going to have to work through this eventually, I think then it's worth saving and it's worth actually getting that emotion out.
Should you compare your kid to other kids? And not necessarily kids, but here's the example I want to wing from. My son has a homeboy. He works. He has a job, makes good grades. Is it right for me to be like, don't you be like your homeboy? What you got, Lee?
That's a good question. Hard question as well. Because I try not to do that. I try not to compare my kids to other kids, or my nieces and nephews to other kids out here. But in the same weird aspect, I compare them to me when I was a kid. Like, so you know what I mean? So it's kind of weird for me saying it. Like, I'm weird for saying it. Like, no, I
Which
don't
is probably
compare them
even
to other
worse.
kids. Yeah, I don't
They
compare them
came
to
up in
other
a different
kids.
world.
Yeah,
they came up
I
in a
don't
whole
compare them
different
to other
world.
kids because I don't like. Everybody evolves and everybody moves at their own pace, and you know what I mean. And God has a space that He wants you in different periods of time. So I don't try to compare them to other kids. But then, like I said, I do that goofy stuff, and I'm always like, when I was at your age, I did X, Y, Z, or when I was your age, I had a job. I was doing this. I was doing that. I was up all night partying. Then I'd be up early doing my work, cutting grass, making $2 for like an acre a yard. Like, so I say that, but then at the same time, I do that. So I don't try to do it, and I shouldn't even compare them to me when I was a kid, but I don't think it's helpful. You know what I mean? I think it's good to acknowledge where your kid is at, whatever wherever they're at in life, you know what I mean, and try to talk to them and get them to express to you what their goals are, where they want to be, what they want to do. Sometimes they don't know, you know what I mean? So, you could give them, you could provide different opportunities to see if something sticks, you know what I mean? Whether that's some kind of sport, whether that's, chess, or, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be, you can provide some different options to see if they latch on to anything. But no, I don't think it's helpful to, kind of put them up against another kid, because all that does is just really build resentment, you know what I mean, towards you and toward that kid. Because my dad likes this kid more than he likes me. He's always talking about, oh, little Joey down the street and how he got a job and how he's doing this and he got straight A's. But, and then, so I don't really think it's helpful. But then you also have to understand what your dynamic is in your household, because maybe you're the reason why he's not doing this stuff. Maybe the dynamic in your household isn't healthy, and he's using other avenues to kind of cope with that. So all in all, no, I don't think you should compare your kids to other kids, and don't compare them to yourself either. Don't do that.
So absolutely not. And then whoever just in the chat, man, they actually just mentioned it, and that's exactly my approach. It's more about comparing it to the attributes or the standard that you've set, or that you and your child have agreed upon as being the standard. And if anything, I might use the power of the pack, which is the people that she's around the most, just to influence and just to reinforce what those standards are. Because it's very common. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but it's very common to do that. Like, people be like, oh, I was, you probably heard them say, oh, I was that kid as a baby. I was walking at 14 months, or I was reading books. Man, whatever. Like, that's probably because your parents didn't have enough clean diapers for you, so you didn't want to sit on it. Like, stop that. Like, so the biggest thing that I think is being self-aware enough to not put these weird expectations. And the biggest thing that I've had to do recently is because we're kind of coming down this home stretch when it comes to SAT, and the goal for my daughter is 1200 or better. And the biggest thing that I've avoided was telling her what I scored, because I don't want to put a weird dynamic and a weird bar that she has to beat. Because let's be honest, she didn't grow up how I grew up. Like, how I scored, God bless. Like, I don't even know how it happened, but there was, and maybe there were just some pressures that I knew I had to in order to, change my life. So I just try to like let her run her own race, with the exception of, hey, by the way, this is our standard, and I'm gonna give you everything you need to meet and exceed that standard. As long as that happens and you give maximum effort, or at least enough effort to where you can live with the results, I'm okay with it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I've seen expectations, and we kind of talked about it on the show. We've seen expectations, how, man, you can have to hold on to it. It's a tough burden to carry for a long time. Because for me, man, I was, the expectation was that I was going to be a doctor from 6 years old. My expectation that I was going to be a physician. And it was something that I put out in the universe, and then they held me accountable to it. So then when it didn't happen for various reasons, I didn't make excuses. I just felt like I underachieved. And, my grandfather passed away, and that was like one of the things that always kind of sat with me for a long time, man. And I started trying to fulfill a prophecy that I didn't really want to do anymore, just for somebody who's gone. Like, it didn't make sense. So I would have, I was putting an extra burden on myself and an extra cross to bear that it, I would feel I became a man that he would be proud of, and that's enough.
How do you punish your teenage kid? Your young adult, should I say?
How I punish mine is by elimination of of things they like. So if your big thing is social media, being on your phone, having internet access, we pausing internet access. Like, the whole household, internet is done. You know what I mean? Taking the phone. You know what I mean?
Time machine style.
If you wanted to go to if you had a dance or a prom or something, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be coming up, you ain't going. Like, I'm taking things away. So it just depends on what the occurrence is. Like, if it's something like extremely egregious, or if it's something like, okay, well, I'll make them do some extra chores in the house. If it's, something that's stupid, but they should have known better. So I think those are probably the combination of things that, that I've done. Even, with my daughter, one of the things we did when she was being disrespectful, she was of that age where she was able to get her her permit, and she was being disrespectful, and we were paying for driving lessons, and you want to be disrespectful? Cancel the driving lessons. You know what I mean? And that was one of the approaches that we used, on many occasions. Like, it took her forever to get to the driving lessons, just to, you know what I mean, to get in a space where she was comfortable enough to, be able to take the test and get her license. But those are things that we do. What do you like the most? Okay, what do you want the most? That's what we're taking away. You know what I mean? So if you want these things, you need to act accordingly. And if you don't, we're taking them away.
Let's get gritty. Let's say you was cleaning their room, and you found an ounce under their bed or something like that. Let's say they out in the street. Let's say they hustling. They start selling weed. They 13. Start selling weed, or you know what I'm saying, they 17 and they selling crack. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when that stuff starts, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about it at that point. How do you punish that kid? You're
Well,
not taking a phone. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No. That's beyond. So I think that's where we got to do the scare straight. So That's what I'm gonna call. You know what I mean? My god brother, Moe, and I'm gonna have him come over in his full police outfit. You know, and I'm gonna have him play it out like he found it
You have a
wherever
whole
he found
sting.
it at. Yeah, I'm gonna tell him to bring. I'm gonna tell him to bring a couple. Bring a couple. You know what I mean? Bring a couple trusted officers that you trust that ain't gonna escalate it. You know what I mean? Bring them with you, and y'all come over and find it, and y'all wait here till they get off of work or wherever they get. When they get home, you take them into custody. You take them in the back of that car. You know what I mean? And you do it like you go and lock them up, you know, and you scare them straight. Like, I think that's one of the approaches I would do in that way. Yeah, I mean, if that happened, you know.
So, man, I'm along the same path though, man. I'm a big believer, and I thought about this a lot, you know, before I became a parent, and it's evolved as as I kind of gone through the process. But I'm a big believer in the removal of luxuries and the removal of freedoms. And then as you kind of go through that, depending on the offense, the punishment will be more swift and it will be more harsh, if you will. But lastly, I mean, the biggest thing that when it comes to my mind on punish, because I mean, are you really punishing somebody that old? Probably not. I mean, you're just inconveniencing them at that point, really, because you're not really punishing them. You ain't spanking nobody. So, you know what I mean? So if anything, okay, it's something they'll have to endure. And then, you know, in 6 months, they're gone anyway. So whatever. But when it comes to, man, I'm a big believer, man. I'm willing to, you know, I said it on this show before. I bring back shame. I'll shame you. I'll be like, man, you change your name. When we talked about it on the last show. Like they start, you know, they start getting on camera and start doing, you know, shows. Yeah. Change your name, like, please. Like, you bringing too much shame to the family, man. Change your name.
You know, I would fight him.
You will what?
I would fight him. Yeah. Yeah, it would be like let's say my 15-year-old came home gang affiliated. Oh, we fighting, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, and I'm saying that because my little brothers was, yeah, I mean, I don't know if y'all who met him, but it was a time where he thought he was in a gang and came to the house wearing a rag. I'm like, yo, what did you like? What? Is that what we in the backyard? Let's go. I'm gonna show you how much of a gang member you're not. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I would want to take that approach. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm putting hands.
Like, I'm gonna jump you in. Like, I'm gonna jump you in.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong, to be honest, or if it's going to help or not. But at that point, when you're like, when you're on the edge of that, you know what I'm saying? You're out here, you know, in the streets like that. Oh, I'm gonna show you what's up. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's on. That's how I feel about it, because I work hard for you not to be there. You know what I'm saying? For you not to take that route. You know what I'm saying? For you not to be slanging or whatever. So
one caveat to that though, like, so I think there's a discussion needs to happen first, right? Before you just start making assumptions, because they're not us and they didn't grow up in the environments that we grew up in. What if he came with a rag and it didn't mean that at all? You know what I mean? And the reason I think of that, because when I was around that age, probably a little bit younger, I was like 14, because I think you can start working at 15. I remember, you know, folks came in my room, man, they found 10 bands. And they was like, oh, he got to be hustling. Not at all, man. I was working and I do what I'm good with money. So they jumped out the window like, oh, you gonna do this? You want to be a man? Like, you want to hold some money? Like, just say so. Like I felt like it was like, because I wasn't doing anything that was out of the ordinary. Like, I should have been commended. If anything, it made me sneakier, because I was like, yo, this is the punishment I get for doing the right thing and just not communicating at every toll. Like, because you knew I had a little under the table job or whatever. And, you know, I made something shake with it. But so I would hope that before you just start putting these up, like, you actually have, you have a full assessment of what's going on. And if it is that, okay. But
finding money and finding the actual product. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but think about it. Where we come from, man, that's hand to hand. Like, man, who you know that wasn't doing nothing and had 10 racks? in their room that wasn't doing something like that.
So
I
here's the
get
thing,
it.
though. I think it's a lack of there's some negligence there, because there's no way that my son is going to be at work saving that much money and me not knowing and not understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's her name? The lady, the doctor that was on Cam Newton show with Bryant.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, Cheyenne Brian. I think. Yeah,
She was on another pod and was like, somebody loving you to a person who's not used to being loved could come off as overbearing, insecure. Like she was like, so that person.
She was with that dude Anthony Owens. I watched that.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's no way, if I'm doing my job as a parent, you know what I'm saying, that my son or any you know what I'm saying, my son, daughter, whatever, is making money and I don't see them going, like, I'm not taking them to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should be a part of that process. Like, I know they have a job. I know they're, you know what I'm saying? I know they're getting paid,
but
I'm having conversations.
The money was just so big, right? The money was just so big.
There's no way they, like, I'm saying there had to be some negligence there for them not to know and understand that you was making money like that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they're not watching. Maybe they just thought it was a little gig. They didn't understand what it truly was. Like,
I was making like $6. I was making $6 an hour. So, in their mind, like, this doesn't make sense. But I cut a deal to where I could do commission, and then I ran the sales up to where, you know what I mean? So,
but again, you see what you did though? You cut a deal to make commission, right? There's no way I don't know that about you. Unless
because y'all have the relationship, they have the relationship to have those conversations, right?
Yeah. So ask me, Dad, you think this is a good idea?
Right.
I would hope, right? Dad, you think this is a good idea? Like, because I would probably be the one who instilled that in you.
Right.
If not, I don't know where you got it from. Evidently, you didn't get it from where you
right, where I was sleeping. Yeah, clearly. I didn't get it from where I was sleeping, clearly.
Because there's no way. They're looking at you like, how you make that? Or it should have made sense. Like, oh, I taught him that. Oh, I did. Right. He was listening. That should have been he was listening moment instead of, you know what I mean? Right. Like, oh,
yeah, like it was like I'm gonna put you out, and you know what I mean. You want to be this, and like, you know what I mean. You was ready to put hands on me, and I'm like, if you need to hold a couple $, just say so. You know what I mean? I got $1,000 for every bump on your face. Chill out. You know what I mean?
What you got, Lee? We want to expound? Are you good?
Nah, I'm good. I'm just laughing.
So one thing that I did think about, you were talking about jobs and we were talking about like comparing them to their peers. One thing that kind of came up recently was kind of crazy. I literally was talking to my daughter, and I was like, yo, let's get through this whole SAT thing. And then, man, like, me and your uncle was talking. I was like, man, why you ain't got no job? I was like, that's something we can focus on after this. And you ain't really been trying to drive or whatever. She was, for what? Like, I got bread. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got bread. I can get wherever I need to get to. Like, for what? What? And I was like, for the experience, and you know what I mean? Like literally, like, and I was just on the fly because I felt there, like why go have her work at, somewhere where they don't love you and you just, just a random body, and it's not with love. They're not teaching you with love. You know what I mean? In which I always said, that's what I want for. So that was, but again, it's a different, they're having a different experience coming through maturity. Cause I was trying to get some money, and like nobody even told me like, oh, I just didn't want to be a burden. I just wanted to be my own man. So there was just a lot of that going on within me. She doesn't have that at all. She's, you'd be like, oh, don't you want some money? I got some. Like,
But yeah, I think at that point it's an experience thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, hey, get out here, understand what the work environment is like.
But it got to be like. So it's gonna have to be the right situation though, because like, don't we always talk? Well, at least I do. I always talk about it. I'm like, does the experience this beneath her value? Does that provide any value add for her to go and push buggies like we did, or you know what I mean, like to go work in some fast food?
Is
that really?
I mean, they would push buggies if they wanted to, but they don't be pushing buggies.
But that's what I'm saying.
Still,
like,
I think even going through the process
to be a cashier. I wonder if that even makes sense now, like, because it's really like. Everything's kind of cashless. I wonder if that's really the job they get. They do.
They got cashiers, yeah, and Publix is hiring. You know what I'm saying? But the experience of going through an interview process, sitting in front of somebody that don't love you, and proving
Right.
to them that you're worthy of an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Gaining that trust, how to talk and get that trust right there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then move forward, then doing your learning how to do your paperwork, doing your W-2s, you know what I mean? Learning that process. Benefits? I don't know what that is. Like, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I first,
because that tax discussion gonna hit different. That first
Exactly.
but why am I here? Like FICA, like he took like me and FICA we got to throw heads. Like, man, they didn't took all my little checks. So so now, like I said, man, even with, I think I have all the answers, man. Like, I think I've raised an individual that has enough sense to, she pushes back in a respectful manner that it makes me have pause and say, you know what? Maybe I need to alter this and tweak this thought process a little bit, because I, at this point, would try to be a little bit more selective into what that opportunity would be.
I mean, I could selective, yes. Apply here, you know what I mean? Don't go to, I guess your typical McDonald's, John Eagles situation, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Try to get a different kind of job, right? Maybe use some nepotism, you know what I'm saying, to get them in, somewhere. But at the same time, I think an opportunity to let them venture out and figure it out, to not use it, like I said, get them in front of that process. I working, and Leaper could attest to this, being 16 and working in a kitchen. Oh my gosh. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. Those personalities are wild. You know what I'm saying?
And I even worry about that, like, especially after y'all, because I've never worked in the kitchen. Y'all told me, like, there's some wild characters to be in there. Like, is that something I want to? And then I think about it, like, kind of in our experience, like, you got somebody that's working late hours that's underage, and next thing you know, they making drives that they shouldn't have been, and who knows where they told their parents they was going, and you know what I mean. So it leaves a lot of room to
make
explore
mistakes.
Stuff they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. So it could and it does, but I don't know. I just think that experience is worth it.
And I agree, because I'm tailoring it as we're talking. So I'm tailoring it kind of as we're talking. And the thing that I was thinking about was something that, because if the money per se isn't really going to be the motivator, it needs to be something else. And you're like, oh, the life lessons, they're probably like, I'm good off that. Like, why don't you just, teach me something? You teach me, like, why I got to go with these people. But I was thinking, I was like,
you're going to manage people. You're going to manage different types of people, right? Like, for instance, you knew how to deal. You when you was in a situation where you was managing a bunch of unsavory people, right? But you knew exactly where they came from, how they function, how they thought. So that made you a better manager.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm trying to get you the game, bro. You know how to approach them a little different. You know how to not like just bam them right off the top. Like, look, I understand. Like, you understood on payday, they probably going to call off type. You know what I mean? You understood all the little intricacies that was going to go on, and that came from you growing up, right? So for somebody who's going to be in a prominent position, it would be good of them to see how and where these people are coming from, thinking about, even though they were privileged. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, you're going to put them in a situation, court judge, right? Mm-hmm. They not going to understand the other side or have that empathy on why am I doing this?
Yeah, you can be ready to bam some folks, and I've actually seen it. Like, I knew somebody who, like, they were on the other side, and I was like, you don't feel a way about bamming your own? She was like my own.
She need a job, bro. No. Time out.
So I think what I will do, like, I'm literally, like, I'm changing my mindset and I'm changing my strategy now as we're talking through it. And if nothing else, I would like to have her. She's going to do something now. Like, I've come to the conclusion she's going to do something, but I want to do something that's going to be value add. It might not be retail, but it might be maybe in a lawyer's office, because ultimately that's what she wants to do. And then whatever she's allowed to do within that scenario. So I'm just kind of being mindful about that. I want it to be value add, and I want it, like I've always talked about this, I want to be I want control chaos when it comes to those life lessons. That risk is like, there's a little bit too much risk. That 25-year-old did like a little too much, just try to manipulate. Like, that's why I'd be like, I don't do too much of that. I don't, I'm very wary of that part of it.
Yeah. Act like the work dad. Or what is it? The work husband? There was a skit.
Right. Yeah.
He said you have to come to your wife's job and be like, "Hey, you looking for Sharon? No, I'm looking for you, sucker."
Right. Facts.
But you got to be the
Yeah.
dad that come into, like, let's say they got a job at a Subway. Make sure you pop up. Hey, let me get the turkey
I
sandwich.
want the $5 foot long.
Yeah. Who's
Turn
that?
up.
I'm not one's dad. Like, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? So they know,
Mhm.
like, oh no, there's somebody protecting this one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it's hella important. You still good, Lee? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just
I'm
laughing it
trying
up,
to, you know how
man.
you be complaining, bro. Like, oh, y'all went too
Yeah,
far. I got something to say.
no,
All right.
because but once you guys get so deep in the thick of it, y'all
Right.
going back and forth. Man, I'll be forgetting what the question is and just be
Yeah.
laughing along like I'm watching the show.
But I tell you what, hey, we ain't ending this show. We need to talk about the Steelers and who gonna start, and we gotta
did
have that
We
conversation.
did that early.
We did that earlier.
Oh, really?
We could do a
Yeah.
follow up. We could do a
we
follow up.
need to do that because man, like, I've been on, Bleacher Report and whatever online. Like,
Don't go.
I don't think people are active. I don't think people are actively listening. Like, I actually watched the watched the press conference, and he didn't say like Russ is healthy, you in. Like, he just said he's gonna get some first team reps, and then it'll be under consideration. And I was like, people hear what they want to hear. Like, but it's called confirmation bias. People are like, oh, here go Tomlin being Tomlin. So if it just don't work, he need to be on the hot seat. I'm like, so people don't need all people can use an excuse when they don't like you. And that's what I'm seeing. Cause I'm like, golly, like, I think this is the right approach, personally.
Yeah. Let's finish the questions. We got a couple more.
Okay.
We get on. How would you feel if your child or teenager came adult, parted ways from you? And this is kind of spawned off. They're saying millennials have parted ways with more parents now, like in this generation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's been studies on it, so it's kind of wild.
Did you see the study? There's a study that says people that are further away from their parents are more successful.
Something. No, I didn't see
Have
that.
you seen that?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
I did see
I
that.
saw that and I was like, are they trying
said,
to like
what they say, the people who are further away from their parents, quote unquote, need less help with the kids and things like that. So it kind of means they've been more successful because they're able to pay for childcare with XYZ. It's a bunch of
and I can see it both
I
ways
don't know
though.
how to do it.
I
can't see it both ways, but I've seen the other way too. You know what I mean? Especially in other cultures where they have the parents living with them. You know what I mean? 3 generations living in the same home, and they're all helping each other build up, and they have businesses and everything. So you know what I mean?
I would love to see. I would rather that. I'd love to have the best of both. I'd love to be upwardly mobile and then still have that family presence. To be the standard bearers, if you will. So but when I saw that, I was taken aback by that, and just it brought to mind how society devalues family currently.
That's how they win. You know what I mean? It's divide and conquer. We've been saying that since we was kids. Now, we meant it in another way, but it still works the same. You divide and you conquer, But I would feel some type of way, man. I really do value Uncle Ricky. What up? I really do value my relationship with my kids, man. So if even in times where we have a tumultuous relationship because maybe they don't agree with some of my decision making, I would in regards to things that they are and are not able to do and things that I give them access to, I would hope that they would grow older and understand my decisions as an adult, that they were only there to protect them. So if they decided that they didn't want no part of me, like I would feel some kind of way, man, because you know what I mean? I really try to understand my child, and I try to build, a positive relationship with them, understanding that I still have to maintain a level of parental superiority to them. Like I can't just be at a friend level right now. When they become an adult, you know what I mean? Hey, maybe we can hang out, talk about all times, talk about the times I failed them, whatever, laugh about the time they got a butt whooping, you know what I mean, off of something. And you know what I mean?
Never whooped you. I ain't never whooped you.
I ain't never whooped you. You ain't never been whooped, But then, have a drink or whatever. And you know what I mean? They come over, bring their kids over for the holidays and stuff. And if they live close enough, maybe I'll see them on the weekends or something. Or heck, if they live close enough, maybe I'll pick them up from after school while they're still working or something. I don't know. I would hope that I still have I have a great relationship with my kids, but man, if I don't, I will feel like I failed as a father for sure, man, because I really put a lot of energy into the relationship that I have with my kids.
So, obviously this is kind of a rerun for us, but for me, man, initially I was like, no, that's not okay. But I like it kept replaying in my mind what Vic said, and he was like, man, what if this was best for them? And I'm willing to make that sacrifice that where if it is truly better for them, I'm willing to, not be okay with it, but I'll deal with it if they decide to sever that relationship and that tie. But I would hope that the time, the effort that I put into my parenting, man, that at least she understands that, man, if I did fail, I failed with love. I just didn't know what I didn't know. So hopefully, they'll understand that. And I'm not perfect. Sorry, daddy ain't perfect. But, everything that I did with love. And hopefully they'll be able to be accepting of those flaws and be like, hell, you can, I guess, almost get a redo as a grandparent. Cause I've seen that a lot, man, I'll be like, you're a much better grandparent than you as a parent, but it's a do-over. I get it. Like, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? You got a whole lot less responsibilities and you ain't trying to survive. You just working through all the muck, you kind of stable at this point. So
they don't have to raise them. They get to be with them
home, right?
Yeah, they get to be with them for the fun time, to take them to the amusement park. You know what I mean? They just sneak them candy. But normally as a parent, you can't eat candy because they don't got to pay for their dental for their dental insurance, or you know what I mean. So they get to be the fun person. You know what I mean? They don't have to actually be the parent. So it's different in that regard. But I wanted to say something. Like because of what you said. Like you did the best you could, and you did the best you could with the information you had at the time or the research you had at the time. Is one of the reasons why I would be so disappointed if they decided that they thought that it was best. Like at what point in your life would you think it was best for you not to have me in your life after all of this that I poured into you day in and day out, that you feel at this point in time, when I've been through therapy, when I've I've approached my demons, looked them in the face, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be better. And now after all of that, you decide, hey, it's better for me not to like at that point, I will be extremely hurt. So I think because of the past, I think that's one of the reasons why I would hope my children would want me in their lives. But I think I don't think I'm mature enough, Reese. Like I don't think I'm mature enough to say that I would be okay if if it was better for my kid. Like, no, I would just be popping up at their house. Like,
you
look,
just gotta suffer. Like, oh well,
we're gonna work this out. Like, look, we're gonna work this out. Like, what do you mean? I done changed your dirty poopy diaper on you. Like, we gonna work this out.
I had a friend one time, man. Like, this was the realest statement I ever heard. He was like, if I knew you and your siblings was going to turn out like this, I'd have left your mom and left y'all years ago. I was like, like, that was so real. And I was like, man, I'm going to give it everything I got. Because I'm going to almost force it to like we always talk about overcorrection. Like, I'm going to overcorrect to where, like, I don't want to have that feeling, because I had plenty of opportunities. I'd be like, man, you know what, man? I'm gonna just go ahead and pay this child support, man. You got it. But like, I was like, nah, So, by no means, like, it would hurt. It would hurt bad. Cause I'd be like, man, I could have been on the beach somewhere, man. Like, with I saw a stat. What they say it was like 900. No, I think it was like 300,000. Well, that was when my daughter was born. It was like $300,000 or whatever to raise a kid. It's probably exponentially more now, but I'll be like, man, if I had that and I invested it, man, so hopefully I don't ever have to have that reconciliation between, man, what I put in versus what I got out. So hopefully I won't have to do that.
Man, that 300,000. You know how much travel ball is? This travel sports in general. That's crazy. It's about $6,000 a year. Yeah, you gonna eat that 300,000 up real quick. Nah, so I mean, kind of how we're going. Um, if it's best for them, I completely agree, understand it. Like, what I mean, and it'll be a situation where how you play the best game you can. If you lost, I'm not necessarily mad if I did everything I had, if I did everything I could, right? Because some things you do everything you can, and it's in God's hands after that. So I can't be mad if I gave it my best efforts. Um, Me forcing it. One thing I do understand, which I think we all do, right? You just went on a whole Euro trip without your kids, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that releases you to go live a whole lot of life. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm not about to force myself on nobody who don't necessarily want me in their life, or I'm not their cup of tea, you know what I'm saying? So because of that, I got a whole lot of other stuff I could be doing, and that's what I'm gonna go do. So hey, whenever you get over that, or if you get over it, if I feel like it's okay for you to get over it and I want to come back, because what I'm gonna be doing over here, trust me, I'm enjoying everything I can. So
But what about the time, energy, and effort you already spent? Like that's a lot of like
it's
wasted.
gone.
You just be like I'm an ROI guy. Like I'd be like, no, you owe me something. I'm leaving here with something. Like, no.
I'm leaving here with something. Hey, whatever. I'm leaving here with something. You owe me, god dang it. You owe me.
Like you gotta pretend we happy 2 weekends a month the way I had to do with you. But it's like something like it's gonna be custody or something. Like you gonna have to pretend for 2 weekends a month.
I get it. It's a lot of time, a lot of invested, but we could do a whole month. You could do a whole lot of living on the other side. So I would just be trying to
I'm
make
gonna do
up
the
for
living
lost.
regardless. I'm gonna do the
No,
living
you're not.
regardless. Like,
No, you not. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna do the living regardless. It don't matter. But my thing is, I would rather do my living and still have, you know what I mean, still have that relationship. And for somebody to feel like they had to decide that it was better for them, like dog, like, you know how crushing that is. Like, dog, you're that toxic that your kid does not feel like it is a good thing for them to be in your life. Like it hurts them to be in your life. That is like dog, I'm gonna have nightmares tonight about that. Like I gotta go back and reassess some of the things I said. I didn't mean it.
You'll start dipping pacifier Kool-Aid, trying to get a little
he
extra.
about to go buy his daughter a car right now. Like, look, hey, I got a gift for you.
I
Brand
ain't
new
finna
car
do
with a bow
that.
in the
Nah,
front.
I ain't
Look,
finna do that, man. Well, I'm finna do that. But I may reevaluate some things. I might be slower to speak in some situations, or you know what I mean, or say some things. Like, my approach would probably still be the same. Just the wording might be a little bit different. But yeah, man, that would hurt so much, man, because like you put a lot of time and effort into your kids, man, and you know what I mean. When it's not appreciated, and it's okay if they don't appreciate it between the age of like 15 to 23. But you would think by like 25 going into that 30 range, they done been through some life, so they understand.
Hey, homing device ain't go off yet.
Like, yeah, the things that things ain't as easy as you think they are. You know what I mean? So some of the decisions that your parents made for you, were for your good. So you would think about that. But if they get to 35, 40 and they still ain't talking to you, man, golly, well, ain't nothing you could do then,
Look, it's something I've thought about, man. I only have one, and for a long time I wasn't married. I was like, man, I gotta make sure I treat her good. That's going to have to take care of me. You know what I mean? So I was being mindful of that. Like if nothing else, man, I'm strategic. And I'm about self-preservation. So I thought about that in that 10 years out through my 30s that I was single. And I was like, man, I'll make sure I treat this little girl real good, because this is who's my power of attorney at some point. Like, make sure you put me in a nursing home with a fine nurse. So when I get that sponge bath, if I feel real dirty, it's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So don't do me bad and just take my check, take my little pension, and just throw me in the back room at your house. Like, don't do me like that. Like, give me some joy. So, you know what I mean? So, hey, man, I was mindful of that.
but so this kind of leads into the next question, right? Is it okay for your child to place boundaries on you?
Man, you know what? I ain't never even think about that whole boundaries thing until you brought it up, and like maybe a few episodes ago, man. Like, in your kids learning boundaries and things like that. at an early age, and I'm like I'm just as an adult, I'm just starting to learn about boundaries and creating boundaries. Like, you know what I mean? Because oftentimes, for me, I do what I feel is best for the preservation of the relationship, even if sometimes it's not what's best for me. Whether that's friendships, family relationships, whatever. I sometimes do what's best for the preservation of the relationship. So, I'm just starting to learn about, creating and setting healthy boundaries. So, uh, yes and no. So I think there has to be like maybe an age where you allow them to start creating boundaries. Like I don't think like, when they're, I don't think like, I think maybe when they start hitting that teenage, you can allow them to start creating boundaries, and you know because they then know enough to be able to, to discern certain things. They know enough to be able to communicate what's going on, how they feel, and make sense of it, to where when they're, 4, 5, 6, 7, they may be able to communicate, but they don't fully understand everything going on. So I wouldn't necessarily take those boundaries serious. I might hear you, but not acknowledge them. When you're a teenager, I might, when we can communicate and have a better conversation about it, and you could explain to me in depth how you feel about it, then I could say, you know what, I respect that. But I think there would have to be, and maybe it will be a younger age, depending on the relationship that I have and how mature I think you are at the time to be able to discern and communicate around how you feel and the boundaries that you are trying to set and why you're trying to set those boundaries. But yeah, I would say there would have to be an age limit, or a feeling of a level of maturity, and the relationship that you have with your kids, to be for them to be able to say, you know what, Dad, I don't really like when you do this. I would love it if you'd stop. And then yeah, I'll be, okay, I can respect that. Can you tell me why? And then if they can properly articulate why, then okay, I can respect those boundaries. But if you're just saying it because you heard somebody else say it and you really don't really understand what's going on, then I don't know that I would acknowledge those boundaries.
So I got to push back a little bit. So, and it's on a couple different fronts. So on the first one, you can't let a muscle atrophy for all these years, and now that you're 18 or whatever that age cutoff is, now that it's 16, okay, now you're allowed to have a boundary. That muscle has died from not being used all these years, right? But I just think there's levels to it, and it increases as their level of understanding increases. And there was a good example from the last show. K Dub, man, he make a play, they smack him with, nah, don't hit me on my butt, man. Like, no, that's not okay. Don't be rubbing on my head. Like, and because we talked, hell, Lever, you talked about this long time ago. Those feelings are always valid. You might not be able to articulate why it makes you feel the way you feel, but that doesn't invalidate that feeling. And the fact that I love that his kids evolved to the point, and his parenting has evolved to the point where they're able to set those boundaries, because at my big age, I still don't do a good job of doing that with my parents. I've got cussed out, and at the end of it, instead of being apologized to, was told, you still know my Cash App. I was like, what? I was like, if this was anybody else, I'd have cleared your Zoom call for you. Are you serious? Like, you didn't call me everything but a child of God, and you said, you know my Cash App. It hung up. So I'm still like, our generation, we for whatever reason, that muscle died. So, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get to a point to where I'm able
We
to
weren't allowed to have that muscle. I mean,
Yeah.
even as adults, we're not allowed to have that muscle
I still don't swear in front of
some of the elders.
Yeah, in front of my elders.
Yeah, you still can't have that. So yeah, you're right.
I mean, there's definitely a respect level, right? Like swearing in front of your elders, like that's one thing. I do swear in front of my mom, though. It is like not on purpose. Like, so like she came over for like in festivities, and we're a little inebriated, like, you know what I'm saying? Something's coming up. But for the most part, I try to keep it respectful. But yeah, no, like, and I don't know what made me started to apply that. I guess with the older one, right? When because he's so different, and I'm like, hey, bro, you don't gotta like me. I understand that you I don't think we would be friends. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We gotta talk about that. Cause
Yeah.
cause me and Vic went out about this. I was like, man, you giving a lot of outs to these kids, man. Like,
Yeah.
so man, Lever backed me up. Like he was giving these kids a lot of outs. I'm like, man, you gonna be a lonely old man. Like, God,
I might be, but I gotta understand that those kind of things, like you said, like even the youngest one is like, hey, don't smack me on the butt. Like, and I forget sometimes. He'd be like, hey, didn't I tell you I don't like that? You said you wouldn't do that. And I'd be like, yeah, my bad. I didn't,
I love it. He holds you accountable.
Yeah, he hold me accountable. Like, and even the other one that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll play around with the name, and I was just like, hey, like, just saying his name. They'd be like, could you stop doing that? And I'd be like, why? Because I'm annoyed. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I named you that. Like, I can say your name how I want to say it. And they're like, nah, that's annoying. I don't want to hear my name like that. Could you please stop? And when they say it like that, it's just like, I would be a complete jerk to be like, no, I'm gonna do it anyway. Sometimes I do it anyway.
I brought you in. I call you whatever I want.
Like, I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk.
Yeah. But you feel how annoying it is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They be like, yo, can you please chill? Like, I don't like this. Like, come on. Like, stop saying my name like that. Like, so I respect it to a degree, and it's to make sure they keep that understanding that, hey, you set your boundaries with whoever. And it really don't matter if a teacher's disrespecting you, or
including me. You know what I mean? I think
including me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not your cup of tea, if I'm not good for your mental space, you know what I'm saying? Please let me know. Part for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important for you to be just as healthy as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to, or just as comfortable as anybody else, and me to have to respect those kind of things and the people around you. So it would be one of those things, like, they grow up and be like, hey, my daddy don't do this to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So don't let nobody disrespect you. If, definitely if I can, you know what I mean? But y'all good? All right. Well, you want to go back on the question?
So so when you said that, like, it triggered something in me, like that whole, so because that can be toxic too. Back in my day, I heard a lot of women say that to me. My dad, I'm like, well, he should have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like they want to be held accountable. Yeah, I'm like, I know. That's why I got to deal with this now.
He should have choked you up.
Right. My daddy ain't talking to me that way. And I'm like, and that's why you doing what you doing now. That's why I got to hold you accountable. And that's why you're on your way off the team. Like,
and that's you expressing your boundaries, right? Like, hey, I don't like XYZ, and they're thinking they can run around. So, hey, this is your opportunity to learn. Like, this don't fly over here, and if you want that to fly, you're gonna have to go to where that flies. But
I think that's good that your kids are doing that, and they're gonna have to accept it. Like I always say, like, I'm not mad at you for what you want, but can you accept the consequences of getting that wish? So, okay, they'd be like, I don't do this, and be like, all right, well, like, you might not really be like, especially you, like, you might get yourself out and be like, no dessert for you. Like, no crab legs then. Like, but Dad, I scored 2 touchdowns today. Whatever. Congratulations.
What you want me? You pat on the back?
Right, what you want me to do? Remember, I can't hit you.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But that would be shady, though. But I guess you can't get my resources either. So, I mean,
folks is petty. Yeah, I mean, some folks is petty.
Absolute facts. Whose fault is it if your kid turns out to be an absolute menace, right? And I'm thinking extremes, right? Because I think we deal with it so much. We grew up with so many dudes doing time in jail, being this XYZ, right? So let's say your kid turned out to be an absolute menace. Whose fault is that? And think about, prime example, Jeffrey Dahmer's parents. Whose fault is that? Was that Dahmer's parents, or is that who the person was? What you got, Lee?
Oh man, that's rough, because I know we had another conversation. We were starting a conversation about
punishing the parent and holding them accountable for their actions. Remember that?
Yeah, but we also was having a conversation about whether the parents should be prosecuted when their kids go on these shooting sprees at these schools. You know what I mean? If the parents should be held accountable for this. So, it's rough because I think partly it is the parents' responsibility in some way because especially in the case of Dahmer, you can't control your kids at all. You don't, at a certain point in your child's life, no matter what type of household you come from, whether it's one parent, two parent, whether whatever, their peer group is going to supersede you at some point in time in their upbringing. Now, I don't know if his peer group was, showed them how to be, how to, eat people up, but you know what I mean? In other cases, man, you start dibbling and dabbling in certain things out in the street and with your peer group, you get turned out. And now you stuck in, you stuck out here, so I think
I was about to say, where we going with this? Wait a minute.
You're partially the parents' fault because the parent at least should have some idea of what's going on in their kid's life. You know what I mean? So, but you can't control what your kid does. So I think there should be some responsibility on the parent if they are children still. Now, if they are grown adults, you've done everything you could do at this point, and you
16.
tried to
16.
say that 16. It's still partially on the parent because as the parent, if they're getting in trouble, they've probably been in trouble before. So you needed to get them counseling. You needed to put them in a more positive environment. Maybe you needed to move, whatever it may have been. Say you did all three. You did all three. You put them in counseling. You got them in the positive program, sports, whatever, and then you even move to different neighborhoods. Better neighborhoods, better environment, and they still turned out to be a sociopath. I don't know how you can. What more you could do in that situation. But if they're just a regular kid and they have some behavioral issues from wherever, then yes, I think part of that is on the parent because the parent has to at least until they're grown exhaust all their resources to try to get them in some kind of programming. Well, even if that means you got to put them in boot camp, you know what I mean? You got to do that. But I think it's difficult for me to put it all on the parent. You know what I mean? Because the kid is going to make the decisions that the kid's going to make. I don't know. My parents, they tried to raise me right. They tried to instill in me certain morals, certain values. And when I left the house, I left those morals and values right at the house, and I did what the heck I wanted to do in the street. So you know what I mean? That was, that's what kids do from time to time. They know how to put on a good face, while you're in their face, and then when they leave the house, they do what's acceptable outside the house. So, it's hard to put all the blame on the parent, but for sure, some blame has to go on the parent for the 16-year-old behavior.
So I agree. When you're underage, you definitely bear some responsibility. And then, like, as you would think about it, because what's weird is, like, we talked about that, and I was talking about how I had interned up in Milwaukee, and I actually saw like the neighborhood and stuff like that where Dahmer did all his stuff or whatever. And then there was a guy he's running around and he's doing interviews, and he was actually around, like he knew that, like he was hustling, and he was like, I think security in the building where he lived, and like he knew him, and like he never thought, right? So one of the things that, like, small things become big things. And like, just because you didn't get caught up until 18 and now you become, I don't know, 30 or something, like, so now, like, so that's a slippery slope to be like, y'all didn't catch me, but I was doing, this type of stuff while I was a minor, and it just so happened y'all didn't catch me until I was an adult. And to be honest, man, from what I know of the story, man, they actually did a lot to try to help him and to try to keep him from hurting other people. Because they saw it when he was in high school, man. He started drinking real heavily when he was in high school. And they were like, so like y'all mentioned, they moved him to a different area, like, more secluded or whatever. But that just gave him more leeway to do what he was doing. They didn't know that. They did what they thought was best for him. I think they even sent him to like boarding school and stuff like that. But what ended up happening, man, is he just found ways to get out of the mousetrap that they were setting for him. And there was even a time when he had got caught for something else that wasn't as as egregious. And when it was time for him to get out, his dad, and they showed the letter. He actually wrote a letter to the judge like, I know this is probably weird, but I would suggest and I recommend that you don't let him out until y'all get him some type of help that he needs, because he's going to hurt somebody else. And they let him out anyway. So, you know what I mean? So, does that father deserve, to go into a cell with him? Like, I would imagine no. Like, he was almost willing to fall on the sword or to take his son's freedom away from him to keep the public safe. And they still didn't give him what he needed. So I think it's, I know in the law, it doesn't necessarily work case by case. You have to have a certain, standard, but as long as you're not, you're not enabling it, I don't think you should necessarily, get any type of sentence.
I think about, let's say, kids are short memory or they get angry and they do things in those short spans, right? Life-changing things possibly, right? So let's say you your daughter comes home. She does something simple. You took her phone. She storms up there. I'm gonna show you. Goes out, kills somebody, right? Let's say the penalty goes to the parent, right? And she knows that you took her phone because you took her phone. Oh, this is terrible. You took my phone, and she goes out and kills somebody to put you in jail. Like that's way too much power.
Yeah, see, like that's tough.
That's crazy work, right?
Yeah.
There.
Look, and this is gonna be a hot take. Yeah, hopefully I don't go viral, but that's one of the reasons why I don't believe in kids having like firearms and stuff like that aren't supervised. And this is the hot take of it, but that's one of the reasons that I'm very wary of women having firearms readily available. Like they could get emotional and then, oh, you out here cheating on me. Like I get called a male chauvinist all the time when I say it, but I be like, oh well, like you ain't getting the keys to this safe because you get mad one day. So
yeah.
It's just one of those things to where, I think you just have to be mindful of the temperament of the access that you give to these people, because potentially, it could have what I say permanent, temporary decisions can have permanent consequences.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I'm very mindful.
Given like what
do you think
that type birth rate? Would the birth rate go down, you think?
Heck yeah. Well, so maybe not, because and we talked about this another time on another show. Like a lot of the people that are having these kids that shouldn't be, like, they're already irresponsible.
Yeah, but if Pookie and Ray Ray out there selling dope, you know what I'm saying, to that mom that had 10 babies, right? And Pookie and Ray Ray's out there selling dope, they get caught. And that crime then bestows upon the parent, and she got to go to, the parents got to go to prison. They're going,
in some cases, but in other cases, they're like, man, we was poor. You know what I mean? Like I always go back to, the whole BMF thing. He was like, man, we were so poor. He was like, man, I was willing to take that risk. Like, hell, they were already in poverty jail. But even for his parents, but no, he said he did it for his parents. He was like, we were in poverty jail. He was like, man, they were about to lose their house. And that's what started him hustling. And then obviously he got addicted to, getting money, but that was the thing. He was like, man, this is a fate that was worse than jail. Like, we were free, but in poverty jail.
For him, for him as a teenager, he could probably say that.
But I think a lot of people in poverty are going to have, like, there's that level of, there's that level of thinking. They're like, the risk versus the reward. Like,
they ain't spend enough time in jail. Go to jail, and you be like, dang, hey, I'd rather have poor freedom than that time in jail. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Listen,
I know a lot of jailbirds. I know a lot of jailbirds talking about 3 hots in a cot.
Hey, get your dental plan on in there. Get your little medical in there.
What's that? Your trans surgery? Did you? Jesus.
So triple bypass. Get your triple bypass on.
Yeah, get your pig in a blanket. So
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting take. You know what I'm saying? But hey, politicians would be wild. I mean, I wonder if they proposed that. Well, how like who would vote
I mean,
for? How would it? How would it sway?
half of their kids are doing illegal stuff. Like they're literally covering up stuff.
Yeah, so that wouldn't
Oh,
make
literally.
sense. Yeah.
Kids, dog. If they pass some laws and they get caught and they go to
Yeah, that
jail,
wouldn't make sense.
just think about Biden right now with his son.
Yeah,
They'd
yeah.
have
facts.
to impeach him. That'd be like,
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Mr.
It's a wrap.
President.
Don't get
Mr. President, we gotta take you to your cell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, man, that's gonna be a tough sell.
Which I got on the Steelers though. Go ahead.
So listen, man, I've been kind of talking about this for a while. That my hope is that Russell does get to play at some point. Now, I don't necessarily think it needs to be a cold turkey situation where you just pull Justin out right now, but I would like him at some point because he's gonna struggle. And I know a lot of people think, oh, we'll let him struggle through it, but at the detriment of what? Like, I would like to see TJ potentially get a championship or Cam Hayward get a championship before they're done. So we don't have a whole lot of time to be allowing this development, if you will. So once he seems to be, in deep waters, and I think it's coming once we start playing some of these harder teams down the stretch, like there's going to be a need to score points. And when we can't do that, we can't be afraid to pull the trigger and to make that change at that point. I don't necessarily know if now's that time, but I just know it's going to come. And I want people, because right now I think people are like, they're looking at it with these rose-colored glasses on and being like, but we're 4-2. What happened when we become 4-4? You know what I mean? Like, what did we
we were 4-2 last year, and then
yeah.
I don't want him to get benched. I would like for a transition to happen, but I don't think I want him to be benched because I think it makes for an interesting headline like, here you go getting benched and
quarterback controversy in Pittsburgh, the turmoil.
Yeah. I rather a situation where we integrate him.
Get him nicked up.
Nah, I think the best situation is to start Russ and have Fields be in there as like a slash, like take it back to like a 90s thing to where we can have them both playing and we get the best of both worlds throughout the rest of the year. We can have Fields go in there with his leadership, and then when we want to mix it up because we need to change tempo or something like that, we bring Justin Fields in, and that literally makes them have to plan for both quarterbacks every game. And then it adds another layer to our game. He could go in there, he could throw the ball, he could run the ball. You know what I mean? Russ could go in there and he could line up somewhere. I mean, they could do some stuff. I think we can do that.
So two QB system until we get like in the playoffs and we actually need the leadership that I mean that ain't.
I'm not mad at that because then he gets the rep still. He gets to stay there with Russ, and Russ gets to talk him through some plays and some things that he's seeing while he's out there because he's engaged. Yeah. And everybody is learning and getting better. And then if he takes the next step next year and gets the contract, then Russell's already showed that he can play and he got leadership. And if he goes somewhere else, he can get a contract somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or he can decide he want to be a backup and stay in Pittsburgh.
What they say is if you got two quarterbacks, you don't got you got no quarterback. Yeah. But that's kind of how we did it in high school. And there's other situations where you can run a two quarterback thing and kind of get things done. I think that adds to your weaponry, boy.
I mean, who was the quarterback? Who was the main quarterback when Cordell was doing that slash roll?
Mike Tomczak.
Wasn't Neil O'Donnell?
Mike Tomczak or Neil O'Donnell?
It was Mike Tomczak.
Okay.
You sure? Because I thought that was the year Neil O'Donnell. We went to the Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell. He threw the first 2 picks
to slash.
He got hurt, and Cordell was playing down the stretch, and then he had won some games down the stretch, and they decided not to start Cordell because Neil O'Donnell came back from injury. They started Neil O'Donnell.
O'Donnell was done after that year. He threw them picks, and we got Mike Tomczak, and it was Mike Tomczak.
Yeah, but the year
that's why it was Neil O'Donnell.
The year he did the slash was when Neil O'Donnell was there. That year we went to the Super Bowl because Neil O'Donnell got hurt mid-season or something like that, and then Cordell came in, and he was playing that position. But then as soon as Neil came back right in the playoffs, right before the Super Bowl, boom.
And we're talking about how we have a lack of weapons, at least at the second wide receiver spot. Justin
Boom.
seems to be a damn good athlete.
You know, I mean, I think it's.
Why
I
have
think
You
you
it's
said
said
wide
more.
receiver reps? You ain't say wide receiver reps.
Hey, a little bit. I don't hate. Shoot, at the beginning of the season, remember they said they thought he was going to return kicks.
Yeah,
So that
He
tells me
laughed
they
at
didn't
that
see something
notion.
athletic.
He
Yeah,
was-
so I
that
wouldn't be
was-
mad at it.
Nah, I don't think
Hey,
he's
man,
not
look.
going for that.
Look, a little. I mean, line him up out there. Can't have him come into motion. You know, double pass or whatever. Hell, I'm not. Hey, and then next year it's your show. But you know, for this run, man, we need you to be engaged. And we need to be able to maximize and utilize
to
this
be an
athletic
athlete this
ability.
year. Athlete this year, quarterback next year.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
I'm
I hadn't
trying
even
to
thought
look,
about
I'm trying
that.
to look it up. No, so we got Cordell Stewart in 95.
We got him in 95. No, was he a rookie? Because we
Yeah.
went to the
Got him
Super
in
Bowl in
94.
95.
Yeah, we went to
Yeah.
Super Bowl 94, 95. I thought that was the year, 94, 95.
Rookie of the year, 95. We got 90.
Wow.
We got Cordell Stewart in 95. We got Mike Tomczak in 93.
So when was Neil? So who was the quarterback in 95? The starter it wasn't. Yeah, it had to be Neil Donald because Neil Donald was the starter in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So yeah, man. So I mean, I just think we need to be able to leverage that athleticism. And at the same time, let him kind of understand, you know, because the passing part of his game is lacking right now. And we know if we do nothing, we're going first round of the playoffs. We're out of there.
We had Neil O'Donnell from 91 to 95.
Yeah. So right, and he never came back after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he never came back after the Super Bowl. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. So that was Neil O'Donnell as the starter, and then they was on the sideline like, yo, we got this great athlete sitting on the sideline. Like we need to utilize it. So I would love for that to happen. Whereas we know that we're going to need a certain level of passing competency while still getting the level of athleticism that we need out of Justin. I don't hate it, man. I think that's a good call, man. I'll take it.
So we had we lost. I mean, we had Slash up until 2002.
Yeah.
His slasher was 2000. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's when he was. Yeah, I knew it was like Mike Tomczak and Neil O'Donnell. Mike Tomczak and Cordell Stewart.
So you're saying he was? So what you're saying he was Slash after he was the starting quarterback?
I'm saying Neil O'Donnell was done after 95. Neil O'Donnell left us.
So did they never play together?
They played 1 year together.
Okay.
And then after that, it was Mike Tomczak and Cordell Stewart. That was the two QB system. And then after that, we got rid of Mike Tomczak and just had Cordell Stewart for a couple years.
Got you.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna leak that information to Glazer. What's that dude's name? Glazer.
Arthur Smith. Oh, what you gonna try to?
I'm gonna try to leak that information in there. Yeah, man.
Right.
Try to get no game, man. Yeah, then we gonna need to put this. We need him out here as the Slash, man. I think that'll be cool, man.
Coming out of
that'll add another
Pittsburgh.
dynamic.
Justin Fields is gonna be playing a little bit of Slash role, but I don't hate it though. You know what I mean? Like
I do. Absolutely.
I don't want him to sit on the sideline, man. He's too athletic.
No,
what do you hate about it? Real quick, what do you hate about it?
Just because he's athletic? No, he's a quarterback. You know,
he doesn't have to play receiver. He doesn't have to play receiver. He can just play that wildcat. Yeah, he can play that wildcat. Package.
I think I would like to entertain the two QB system. Ideally, that would be my ideal. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we need both these guys. You know what I'm saying? To bring the dynamic, because we lack dynamic. Our run game is trash. Yeah,
we lack playmakers.
And our receivers is trash.
Because Lord knows, and think about it. Lord knows when we get into the red zone, Justin's our best option.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Best option.
Right. So let Russ get us up and down the field.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Inside the red
gets us
zone.
more red zone opportunities, and then you bring in. I don't hate it.
Yeah. Let Russ get us the red zone opportunities, and let Justin Fields, do his thing in the red zone. You know what I'm saying? And
What do you got? Like
working
three or four rushing touchdowns
Four.
at this point?
I think he got 4 because he had 2 in one game and 2 in the last game.
He's leading the team, ain't he?
Yeah, shoot, he got the only rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, you can say that's
No,
Well,
no,
until
not he had one last.
Najee had one last week.
Yeah, until last game. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's another prototype that. Yeah.
Man, fix them bombs, man.